The galaxy knew her name long before she ever learned how to live with it. Princess Serana of the Chiron Dominion carried a title whispered across systems. The star-feared heiress. People spoke it with a mix of awe and dread, as if she commanded storms or ruled the vacuum itself. In truth, she had been born into a power no one asked whether she wanted. Her mother, the Empress, ruled more than 200 worlds, and her grandfather had once crushed an entire rebellion with a single order. By blood, Serana inherited that legacy. By heart, she had inherited none of their coldness. From the age of 6, she had been paraded like a figure of destiny, taught to look untouchable, taught to walk as though she feared nothing. She obeyed because she had to, but every night she hoped someone would see through the armor she wore. Not the shining gold armor her people crafted, but the silent armor of fear she pretended never touched her. The galaxy feared her because her people wanted them to. She feared herself because she had never been allowed to be anything else. When her convoy entered the Helios cluster, on what was supposed to be a peaceful diplomatic mission, she knew something was wrong even before her guards spoke. The air inside the carrier felt tense, too thick, as if danger had already seeped into the walls. Her guard captain, Varen, paced the walkway near the control seats. His voice firm but quiet. As he updated her, "Your Highness, long-range scans show no distress," he said, though his eyes told a different story. "But I suggest you remain within the armored chamber until we confirm." Serana already knew what he meant. Pirates? He hesitated only a second. Possibly, or someone worse. No one said it openly, but everyone in the Dominion understood what worse meant. There were groups that believed killing her would cripple the future of her empire. Others believed capturing her would give them unbearable power, and some simply hated what she represented. Serana breathed slowly. She had been trained for danger since childhood, but training did not erase the sick twist of fear in her stomach. She clasped her hands together to hide the tremor in her fingers. The ship shuddered. Everyone froze. A second shake followed harder, sharper. Alarms blared. Lights shifted to red. Crew members bolted into positions while guards surrounded her instantly in a formation she knew too well. "Boarding hooks detected," someone shouted. "Unknown ships closing fast." Her heart sank. Someone wasn't trying to destroy her ship. They wanted her alive. Within seconds, the hull rang with metallic clanks, 1, 2, 3, like teeth sinking into metal. The pirates were forcing passage. Varen turned sharply. "Move her to the secondary bay. Now." Guards pushed around her in a tight circle as they moved quickly down the corridor. The ship rocked again as the invaders cut deeper. The noise grew louder, grinding, pounding, sparks flying from the ceiling. Serana didn't dare speak. She knew anything she said would only distract the soldiers protecting her. A blast door slammed shut behind them, sealing off one section of the corridor, but the violent sound of cutting torches rang from the other side. "Your Highness," Varen said quietly. "If they break through, we hold them. You run. Understand?" She didn't, or maybe she didn't want to. "Captain, I'm not leaving all of you behind." "You will," he said, "because your life is worth more than ours." She hated that. She always had. Before she could argue, the wall behind them exploded inward, sending smoke and metal shards bursting across the corridor. The shockwave knocked her off balance, and 2 guards caught her arms before she could fall. Figures in dark armor poured through the gap, masked, heavy-armed, shouting orders to take her alive. The guards held the line bravely, firing stun bolts that lit the hall, but the pirates countered with stun grenades that filled the air with a blinding electric hum. Serana's ears rang as her vision wavered. Her guards fought hard, but they were overwhelmed, one by one. A pirate lunged toward her. Before he touched her, the ship lurched violently, a sudden, unnatural jerk, and everyone stumbled. The lights flickered. A new alarm screamed across the ship. "Dock breach on 3rd module." The intercom blared. "Unknown vessel forced connection." Varen shouted orders through the chaos. "Keep moving. Keep the princess safe." But the pirates didn't back off. They wanted her. She could see it in the way they advanced, focused, ignoring everyone else. The armored door to the secondary bay slid open as Varen shoved her inside. "Stay behind me." The guards formed a final barrier, breathing hard, weapons raised. Sirana stood behind them as the pirates pushed into the room. She braced herself, feeling helpless, her pulse hammering too loudly in her ears. Then, over the sound of weapons fire and metal scraping, she heard something unexpected. Human footsteps, unarmored, uneven, running straight toward danger. Before she could process what was happening, a figure burst through the side hatch, a tall, dust-covered human man wearing a torn engineering jacket and holding a toolkit in one hand as if it were a weapon. Everyone stared. Humans were rare in Dominion space. A single human man appearing in the middle of a pirate assault made no sense. He didn't pause, didn't flinch. He launched himself into the fight with reckless energy, slamming his toolkit into the first pirate's helmet so hard the attacker collapsed instantly. A second pirate swung at him, but the human ducked, grabbed the soldier's shoulder, and drove him against the bulkhead with surprising strength. He fought like someone who had learned survival the hard way, quick, instinctive, brutal only in self-defense. His movements were desperate but determined. He protected himself, but every time a pirate tried to reach Sirana, he blocked them. Sirana had never seen anyone fight like that, not for her, not for someone they didn't even know. Varen shouted, "Who are you?" The human kicked a pirate's weapon away before responding. "Maintenance crew. I was fixing your stabilizers when your ship got jumped." He dodged a blast that scorched the wall near his head. "You want introductions or survival?" That answer stunned Sirana for a moment. He was a simple engineer, not a soldier, not part of her guard. Yet here he was, throwing himself between her and danger, while everyone else retreated or attacked with fear in their eyes. This human looked like he didn't understand the concept of giving up. He fought like a man who knew the galaxy wouldn't save him, so he would save himself, and anyone nearby, because that was simply what a decent person did. Another pirate lunged for her. The human moved faster than her guards. He grabbed the attacker's wrist and twisted it until the weapon fell. The pirate tried to strike him with his free hand, but the human rammed his shoulder into the pirate's chest, sending him crashing to the floor. The guards backed him up, stabilizing the room. Piece by piece, the pirates were pushed out or stunned. Finally, silence returned. The human stood there, breathing hard, sweat dripping down his temples. He looked almost embarrassed to have just saved a royal heir that half the galaxy feared. His brown hair was messy, his jacket burned in some places, and his hands were shaking slightly from adrenaline. Sirana stepped forward without thinking. "You saved me," she said quietly. He blinked at her. "You needed help. I was there." He said it as if it were the simplest truth in the galaxy, as if she were not the most feared princess in known space, as if she were simply someone worth defending. Before Sirana could respond, the ship shuddered again. A new alarm rang different from the others. Deeper. Urgent. The intercom crackled. "All crew unknown force breaching main deck. Pirates reinforced. Prepare for evacuation." Varen cursed under his breath. "Your Highness, we need to move you to the escape shuttle now." But Sirana turned to the human. "Will you come with us? You are not safe if you stay here." He raised an eyebrow slightly. "Do I have a choice?" She wasn't sure how to answer that. "No," Varen said firmly. "You're coming with us. You're the reason she's alive." The human gave a tired laugh. "Great. I fixed a ship once, and now I'm part of royalty." "Great." Sirana almost smiled despite the danger. As they began moving toward the shuttle bay, she looked at the man walking beside her. He wasn't afraid of her title. He didn't bow. He didn't tremble. He had defended her when no one else could. And for the first time in her life, the girl feared throughout the stars felt something new when she looked at someone. She felt safe, and she didn't even know his name. But she would, soon. The escape corridor shook under their feet as they hurried toward the shuttle bay. Sparks rained from the ceiling, and smoke drifted from vents above the walkway. Sirana moved with her guards in a tight formation, the human staying close beside her, as if he had been part of their protection squad his entire life. She didn't know why his presence steadied her, but it did. Every time the ship trembled, every time the alarms blared, he glanced at her, as if checking to make sure she was still safe. He didn't even know her name, Yet he behaved as if protecting her was his responsibility. The human kept low as they turned into another corridor, scanning for danger. "Your pirates aren't giving up," he muttered. "They're cutting into every deck. They want her alive," Varen replied. "They will not retreat." The human rubbed his forehead. "Great. That makes this 10 times worse." Serana found herself staring at him again. His jacket was scorched, his boots uneven, and there was a fresh cut across his cheek from the earlier fight. But he carried himself with a quiet resolve that she had never seen in any soldier. Her guards obeyed orders because duty demanded it. This human fought simply because he chose to. "What is your name?" she asked suddenly. He blinked at her, surprised she had spoken directly to him during chaos. "Jace." Just one syllable. Simple. Human. And it startled her more than an elaborate title ever had. "Jace," she repeated softly, committing it to memory. Before he could say anything else, a sudden explosion tore through the end of the hallway. The shockwave threw everyone backward. Serana hit the ground, dazed, ears ringing. Jace scrambled instantly, grabbing her arm and pulling her away from the collapsing section. "Move," he shouted, guiding her behind a support beam just as debris crashed where she had been lying. Her guards reformed around her, though several were injured. 3 couldn't stand. Varen barked commands, trying to reorganize their defensive line. Jace looked toward the burning end of the hall. They blocked the main route. "Is there another way to the bay?" Varen gave a tight nod. "Maintenance tunnels. Narrow, unstable, but they lead to the lower launch sector." Jace's eyes widened. "Oh, I know those tunnels. They're a safety hazard." "They are our only option," Varen said. Serana rose slowly, brushing dust off her gown, though its silver threads were torn beyond repair. "Take us through them." Her guard captain hesitated. "Your Highness, the tunnels are small. You may—" "I don't care," she said. "We cannot stay here." The human nodded approvingly, as if impressed by her resolve. They moved quickly toward a service hatch half hidden behind a wall panel. Jace tore the latch open manually since the panel's controls were dead. Cool metallic air rushed from the space beyond. The tunnel was long, dim, and barely wide enough for 2 people to move side by side. Pipes ran along the ceiling, vibrating with the ship's unstable energy flow. Serana stepped inside, but Jace immediately moved ahead of her. "I'll go first." "But I know these tunnels," he said, giving her a reassuring look. "You don't. If anything collapses, I'll notice first." Varen reluctantly nodded. "Very well, but stay close." They entered the narrow space single file. Jace led, Serana followed, the guards behind them. The ship groaned around them like a wounded beast. Every sound echoed unnervingly in the cramped passage. After several minutes of walking, Jace slowed. "Lights are dead ahead. That means a power reroute. The wiring might be unstable." "Lights are dead ahead, light." Serana watched him crouch beside a cable glowing faintly. He put his palm near it, not touching, just sensing the heat. "If we step on that section, it could spark and fry half this tunnel." Her eyes widened. "Can we avoid it?" Jace studied the pipes above. "If I lift this one and wedge it under the other, I can block the flow temporarily." Without waiting for permission, he used his jacket to protect his hands and forced the pipe upward. A blast of hot steam hissed out, and Serana stepped back instinctively. Jace gritted his teeth, shifting the pipe until it locked into place. "There," he breathed out. "Safe enough to pass." She didn't know why the sight of him doing something so dangerous made her chest tighten. He risked himself again, without hesitation. He did it for her. When they resumed walking, she found herself studying the back of his jacket. A faded patch on the shoulder read, "Terran Mechanics Guild. Apprentice Division." He wasn't even a senior engineer, just a young man who happened to be on the wrong ship at the right time. Or perhaps, the right man on the wrong ship. Suddenly, Jace stopped. "Everyone freeze." Serana tensed. "What is it?" He pointed at the floor. A hairline crack extended along the tunnel's metal grating. "Structural instability," he whispered. "If we put weight there, the whole section might collapse." Varen cursed under his breath. We cannot go back. Jace looked at Serana. For a moment he seemed to weigh options in his head. Then he made a decision that stole her breath. I'll test it. No, she said instantly. You can't, princess, he said softly, voice steady but firm. You don't weigh as much as all of us combined. If this section collapses under me, better one life than all of yours. Her eyes widened. Do not talk like that. He gave her a faint smile. Someone has to test it. Without waiting for her permission, he stepped forward. The metal groaned under his boots. He took another slow step. Serana's heart pounded painfully in her chest. The third step made the entire tunnel vibrate. Jace, she whispered, barely breathing. He exhaled. It's holding. Maybe. He moved across the cracked section inch by inch until he reached solid ground. Okay, everyone step exactly where I stepped. Lightly. Serana moved next, imitating his every step. She felt the metal dip beneath her feet, but the structure held. When she made it to Jace's side, relief flooded her so strongly her knees almost buckled. Jace steadied her by placing a hand on her elbow. You're okay. His touch was gentle, unexpectedly warm. She nodded, unable to form words. When the last guard crossed safely, the group continued moving through the tunnel until the faint sound of engines reached their ears. The shuttle bay. Varen murmured with hope. Jace quickened his pace. Good. Let's get out of this nightmare. But when they reached the hatch leading to the bay, the doors wouldn't open. The control screen flickered. Manual overrides jammed, Jace muttered, examining the panel. Someone tampered with it from the outside. Varen slammed a fist on the door. Are the pirates already here? Jace shook his head. No. If they were, this door would be blown apart. This is sabotage. Someone wanted us stuck. Serana's stomach twisted. They trapped us. Jace examined the panel again, then the vents above, then the screws on the emergency frame. Maybe not. He grabbed a wrench from his toolkit and started loosening the bolts on the side of the hatch. This door is reinforced, but the frame isn't. If I remove the paneling, I can slip inside and unlock it from the other side. Serana's eyes widened. You would go in alone? It's either that or we stay here. She hated how often he risked himself, as if his life didn't hold weight. Jace, please be careful. He paused, looked at her, and something softened in his expression. I will. He removed the final bolt, slid the panel aside, and squeezed through the narrow gap. Serana held her breath until she heard a metallic click. The door slid open. Jace emerged from the other side with a triumphant grin. Told you I could do it. But the moment the door opened fully, their relief turned to fear. Fire burned in the far corner of the bay. Smoke drifted through the air. 3 shuttles lay damaged beyond use. Their shells blackened. Their engines melted. Only one shuttle remained intact. Before they could reach it, a shadowy figure stepped from behind a crate, armor black, weapon drawn. Not a pirate. A professional. A hunter. He aimed directly at Serana. Jace reacted faster than thought. He moved in front of her, but the attacker didn't fire. Instead, he spoke into a communicator. Target located, Princess confirmed. Preparing extraction. Serana's heart froze. This wasn't random piracy. This was a planned capture. The attacker spoke again, louder this time. Surrender peacefully, Princess. You cannot escape. Varen and the guards formed a wall of shields. But the hunter didn't attack them, his sights stayed locked on her. Jace moved closer to Serana, shielding her fully with his body. You're not taking her. The hunter tilted his head, amused. A human? Defending her? How pathetic. Jace didn't move, didn't flinch. Try me. The hunter aimed again. One finger tightening on the trigger. Serana barely breathed. For a split second, she thought she saw the hunter's finger pull, but someone else moved first. A silver streak blasted across the bay, a shockwave that shook the metal floor. Serana didn't see who fired it, only that the hunter was thrown backward, crashing into the wall with violent force. The shot hadn't come from her guards. Jace stared. What was that? Serana's voice trembled. Not what. Who? From the elevated walkway above, a towering figure stepped into view. Dark armor, eyes glowing with wrath, cape trailing like burning shadow. The Empress, her mother, the most feared woman in the galaxy. And she looked down at the scene with a fury Serana had not seen since childhood. Her voice thundered across the bay. "Who dares threaten my daughter?" Jace swallowed hard. Even he wasn't reckless enough to speak now, but he stayed beside Serana, closer than anyone else, as if he belonged there. And Serana realized something she had never allowed herself to believe. Her only defender was a human, and her mother had just seen everything. The entire shuttle bay fell silent as the Empress descended from the upper platform. Her armor reflected the burning firelight, and each step echoed with the authority of someone who ruled worlds without needing to raise her voice. Her presence alone made even the shadows seem to retreat. Serana felt a familiar tightness in her chest. The same mixture of awe, fear, and longing she always felt around her mother. The guards knelt. Varen lowered his head instantly. Even the unconscious hunter on the floor seemed smaller in the Empress's presence. Only 2 people remained standing completely upright. Serana, who had never been allowed to kneel before anyone, and Jace, who didn't know he was supposed to. He stood beside her, unarmed, exhausted, still breathing hard from everything he had done to protect her. The moment the Empress's eyes locked onto him, Serana felt her pulse spike. Afraid of what her mother might do or say, the Empress stepped closer, her expression unreadable. She paused only a few feet away, towering above Jace. "You," she said slowly. Jace didn't move. "Me. Do you understand who stands before you?" He looked her straight in the eyes, something even her own generals never dared to do. "I'm guessing." The person in charge. The guards behind him tensed, as if expecting immediate punishment, but the Empress merely raised an eyebrow. "Indeed." Serana stepped forward slightly. "Mother." The Empress lifted a hand, stopping her. Serana froze. Old habits. Childhood instincts she could never erase. The Empress circled Jace once, inspecting him like he was a puzzle she hadn't decided whether to admire or destroy. "You protected my daughter," she said. "A human. A simple engineer. Alone. In a ship full of armed invaders." Jace shifted uncomfortably. "Well, someone had to." "Why?" the Empress demanded. The question hit the bay like a thunderclap. Even Serana stiffened. Jace didn't look away. "Because she needed help." "That is not reason enough. It is for me." The Empress stopped walking. Her eyes narrowed, studying him as if probing something deeper. "You risked your life." Repeatedly. "Yeah," Jace said quietly. "I did." She leaned closer, not threatening, but curious in a way that unsettled the guards. "Do you know what she is called across the galaxy?" Jace shrugged. "Probably something important. Princess? Heir? Royal?" "No." The Empress's voice hardened slightly. "The galaxy calls her star-feared. They believe she carries destiny like a weapon." Jace glanced at Serana. "She doesn't seem very scary." Serana's breath caught. No one had ever said that to her. Everyone feared her title before meeting her. Everyone assumed she was powerful and dangerous before she even said a word. Jace was the only person who had looked at her and seen her. The Empress turned to her daughter then. "You are unhurt?" she asked. Serana nodded. "Because of him," Jace muttered. "We all worked together." But the Empress didn't look at him. She stared at Serana with something complicated in her eyes. Pride, relief, and an emotion Serana rarely saw on her mother's face. Fear. "I felt your signal fade," the Empress whispered. "I thought I lost you." Serana's throat tightened. She rarely heard such emotion from her mother. For a moment, she simply stared, unable to speak. But the moment didn't last. A loud boom trembled through the bay. The Empress snapped her attention to the far wall, where distant echoes of fighting continued throughout the ship. Varen rushed forward. "Your Majesty, enemy reinforcements have entered the lower decks. We must leave." The Empress nodded. "Prepare the shuttle." Jace asked. Won't they target it? It's the only working one. They will, Varen admitted. Then how do we get out? The Empress looked straight at Jace. We fight through. He just stared. Of course we do. Serana almost laughed at his reaction. Even now, he acted like surviving impossible situations was just another part of the job. The Empress motioned for all guards to assemble around the shuttle. The enemy has infiltrated our command decks. They will attempt to reclaim the princess. We hold until engines ignite. Why? Jace frowned. You mean, I have to hold a line again? You may remain inside the shuttle, the Empress offered. Jace shook his head instantly. Not happening. Serana felt warmth spread through her chest. He refused to leave her alone. The Empress studied him again. A strange realization flickered across her eyes, something Serana couldn't interpret. The guards took positions around the bay. The Empress raised her hand, forming a barrier of protective energy as she prepared to defend the shuttle. But before they could launch, the bay doors slammed open. Dozens of armed invaders rushed in more than Serana had seen earlier. They moved with precision, not like scattered pirates. This group was highly trained, professional, and focused solely on one thing. Her. Serana stiffened. Jace stepped in front of her again. The Empress strode forward, raising her hand. Energy crackled around her fingers like lightning coiled into a fist. The attackers didn't slow. They aimed stun charges and restraining nets designed specifically for capturing royalty. The first net fired straight at Serana. Jace reacted before anyone else. He grabbed a metal crate lid and swung it up, deflecting the net so it clamped onto a wall instead. The guards fired back. The Empress unleashed a shockwave that sent half the attackers flying. But more kept coming. They spread out, surrounding the group. Serana backed toward the shuttle, but Jace didn't follow immediately. He fought off two attackers with improvised moves, using the crate lid like a shield. Jace, she called. Go, he shouted back. I'll catch up. No, she said instinctively. Stay close. He wanted to, she could see it, but he was trapped between the shuttle and three attackers circling him. The Empress moved in, slicing the air with energy that tore their weapons apart. Human. Fall back. Jace rolled under a swinging baton, grabbed a dropped weapon, and used it like a staff to knock another attacker backward. Trying. He darted towards Serana just as the Empress unleashed a blast so powerful the remaining attackers staggered. Guards rushed to seal the bay door, but more enemies were already pounding on the other side. We need to leave now, Varen shouted. The Empress pointed toward the shuttle. Inside. All of you. Serana ran inside but stopped at the ramp and turned. Jace was still outside, helping a wounded guard limp forward. When Jace reached her, he gave a relieved smile. Told you I'd catch up. But just as he stepped toward the shuttle, something hit the bay from above. A large shock grenade dropped through a vent, clattering onto the floor. Jace saw it at the same time as Serana. His eyes widened. Get back! He pushed her behind the shuttle door frame and threw his body over her just as the grenade exploded. A blinding wave of electric shock surged through the bay. The guards stumbled. The Empress staggered briefly. The attackers outside the bay door attempted to force it open again, but Jace felt the full blast. Serana heard him gasp, body tense against hers as the shock ran through him. She grabbed his jacket, trying not to panic. Jace, can you hear me? He groaned, barely conscious, but managed a strained smile. Still alive. Barely. Varen grabbed Jace and lifted him onto the shuttle. Get him inside. Serana followed close, refusing to leave his side. The Empress was the last to enter. She slammed her palm against the launch controls and the shuttle roared to life. As it lifted from the bay floor, invaders poured through the door, firing wildly. But the guards returned fire and sealed the ramp. The shuttle burst out of the damaged bay, tearing through debris as it rocketed into open space. For the first time since the attack began, Serana felt air in her lungs again. She turned to Jace, who lay slumped against the wall, still recovering from the shock. She knelt beside him, her voice breaking. You protected me again, he gave a weak laugh. It's becoming a habit. She pressed her hand to his. His fingers twitched in response, lightly squeezing. The Empress, standing nearby, watched the interaction with sharp, thoughtful eyes. The expression on her face was not anger, but recognition. "Human," she said quietly. Jace blinked up at her. "Yeah? You fought as if her life meant more than your own." He took a shaky breath. "Because it does." Serana froze. The Empress froze too. In the silence, the stars outside glowed bright through the shuttle windows. The engines hummed softly as the shuttle set course toward the flagship. The Empress slowly lowered herself into a seat across from them, studying the two with an intensity that made Serana's heartbeat quicken. When she finally spoke, her voice was calm but heavy. "This changes everything." Jace frowned. "What does?" The Empress didn't answer. She simply looked at her daughter, at the human sitting beside her, and the invisible thread binding them. Serana felt it too, a connection she didn't understand yet. But she knew one thing with certainty. He wasn't just a stranger who saved her life. He was becoming the only person she trusted, and the galaxy would not react quietly to that truth. The shuttle drifted through the starlit void until the towering flagship of the Empress came into view. Its gleaming hull stretched across the darkness like a floating city of silver and shadow. Serana had seen it countless times growing up, but for the first time she felt something new, fear not of the ship, but of what awaited inside. Beside her, Jace leaned weakly against the wall, still recovering from the shock grenade. His breathing was shallow, but steady. Every few moments Serana checked on him, adjusting the support cushion or touching his arm lightly to make sure he was still awake. He would smile faintly each time, as if trying to reassure her even though he could barely stay conscious. The Empress observed all of this silently. Her expression didn't change, but the air around her felt heavier, filled with thoughts she hadn't voiced yet. When the shuttle entered the docking chamber, she stood tall and gave orders with her usual command. "Medical team, prepare for immediate arrival." Serana expected healers for herself as well, but the Empress's focus was entirely on Jace. When the doors opened, a group of armored medics rushed in. They bowed deeply before the Empress, and then approached Jace with scanners and equipment. Serana stayed close as they lifted him carefully onto a grav stretcher. Jace blinked at her through the haze. "Guess I'm getting special treatment." "You deserve it," Serana whispered. He gave her a tiny, tired smile. "Do I?" "Yes." Before the medics could take him away, he reached toward her. His fingers brushed her wrist gently, a brief contact that made her heart tremble. "Don't disappear," he murmured. "I won't," she whispered, gripping his hand for a moment. Then he was carried down the corridor. Serana wanted to follow instantly, but the Empress blocked her path. "We must speak." Serana swallowed hard. "Mother, he will be treated," the Empress said firmly. "But you and I must have clarity before anything else." Serana hesitated. She felt torn between duty and instinct, between the throne and the only person who had stood by her without expecting anything in return. Finally, she nodded and followed the Empress into a private chamber. The room was dim, lit only by soft blue lights. A circular window showed the stars drifting like silent witnesses to their conversation. The Empress stopped near the center of the chamber, hands clasped behind her back. "For years," she began, "I have ruled with strict control. The galaxy respects us because it fears us. And you, my daughter, are the symbol of that power." Serana lowered her gaze. She had heard this speech before, but this time, the Empress's tone shifted. "Yet today," she continued, "I saw something I have never witnessed in all my years." Serana dared to look up. "A human," the Empress said slowly, "who does not fear our title, who does not kneel, who does not tremble. A human who faced death to protect you." Serana felt her heartbeat quicken. "Jace didn't know who I was. He just helped." The Empress's eyes sharpened. "Exactly." Serana frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means his instinct to protect you was not born from politics or fear," the Empress explained. "It came from something far more dangerous." Serana stiffened. "Dangerous?" "Yes, because true loyalty cannot be bought or commanded. It grows, it spreads, it changes people." Serana didn't need to think long to know what she meant. In her heart, she already understood. Jace had changed her, but the Empress wasn't finished. "Sit," she commanded gently. Sarana obeyed, sitting on a low metallic bench. The Empress sat across from her, lowering her regal posture just slightly, something she rarely did with anyone. "Sarana," she said, voice softening, "I watched you today. Every time that human was in danger, your breath caught. Every time he stood near you, your body relaxed. When he fought for you, you looked alive." Sarana froze. She didn't know how to answer. The Empress leaned forward. "Tell me the truth. Do you trust him?" Sarana didn't speak immediately. She closed her eyes, remembering every moment since the attack began. The way he stepped in front of her without thinking, the way he risked himself in the tunnel, the way he shielded her from the grenade, the way he always checked if she was safe, the way he never once treated her like a symbol or a weapon, only as a person. When she opened her eyes, her voice was steady. "Yes," she whispered. "I trust him more than anyone." The Empress exhaled slowly, as if she had expected that answer but still needed to hear it aloud. She rose from her seat and walked toward the window. For a moment, Sarana thought her mother might be angry, but when the Empress spoke again, her voice carried something unexpected sadness. "The galaxy will not understand," she said quietly. "They will not accept that the star-feared princess trusts a human above her own blood." Sarana tightened her fists. "Let them not accept it. Jace saved my life." The Empress turned slightly, eyes soft yet firm. "That is why I am not angry." Sarana blinked. "I saw something in him." The Empress continued. "A strength that cannot be trained. A courage that cannot be forced. He defended you as if his existence depended on it." After a pause, she added, "And you looked at him as if yours did too." Sarana lowered her head, her cheeks warm. The Empress sighed. "Come." They left the private chamber and walked down the long white corridor toward the medical bay. Sarana's footsteps quickened with every step. She wanted to see Jace not as royalty, not under attack, but simply to ensure he was okay. When they reached the medical bay, several healers stood aside respectfully as the Empress entered. Sarana moved past them and saw Jace lying on a stabilizer bed, wires attached to his arms and chest. His shirt had been removed, revealing bruises from the assault. His eyes were closed, but his breathing was even. A medic turned to the Empress. "He will recover fully, Your Majesty." Humans respond surprisingly well to our healing stimulants. Sarana released a breath she didn't know she was holding. She walked to Jace's side and touched his hand gently. He stirred slightly, opening his eyes. When he saw her, he smiled faintly. "Didn't go far," he whispered. Sarana felt her throat tighten. "I promised I wouldn't disappear." Jace blinked, eyes heavy but focused. "Good. I didn't want to lose track of you." The Empress approached slowly. Sarana expected Jace to tense or panic at her presence, but instead, he simply looked at her with curiosity. "You are recovering," the Empress said. "That is good." Jace nodded weakly. "Thanks, I guess." The Empress studied him for a long moment. "Human. What you did today no one will forget." Jace's tired smile remained. "Didn't know I was making memories." Sarana almost laughed. Even injured, he could make her heart feel lighter. The Empress's expression softened even more. "You saved my daughter. Twice. For that, our empire owes you." Jace attempted to sit up a little. "I didn't do it for your empire." "Kroos." The healers gasped quietly. Sarana looked at him with wide eyes. The Empress's gaze sharpened. "Then why?" Jace's eyes flicked to Sarana. His voice was soft, honest, unguarded. "Because she needed someone. And I couldn't let anything happen to her." Sarana felt heat bloom in her chest, her breath catching. Her fingers tightened around his hand. The Empress watched the exchange, and an unreadable emotion passed behind her eyes. Then she spoke with finality. "Human Jace, you will not leave this flagship." Jace blinked. "Is that a threat?" "No," the Empress said calmly. "It is an order." Sarana's heart jolted. "Mother." The Empress raised a hand. "Jace will not be a prisoner. He will be an honored guest, under highest protection." Sarana stared. "You mean?" "Yes." the Empress said. He will remain by your side. From today onward, the human who defended the star-feared princess will be her shield. Jace's eyes widened. Wait. Shield? Like, official job? The Empress nodded. Your role begins when you recover. Jace blinked slowly. I don't even know royal rules. You will learn, she said. Serana felt her heart swell with relief, joy, and something deeper she didn't dare name yet. The Empress turned to leave, but paused at the door. Serana. Serana straightened. Yes, mother? The Empress's gaze softened. Choose carefully whom you trust, but do not fear choosing. Then she left. Serana turned back to Jace. He watched her with tired eyes, his hand still in hers. So, he whispered, I'm your shield now. She smiled softly, a smile she rarely showed anyone. You always were. Jace exhaled, relaxing, and closed his eyes again. Serana stayed beside him, holding his hand as the stars drifted outside the window. For the first time in her life, the galaxy didn't feel terrifying, because the one person feared by none was the only person she needed, and the star-feared princess was no longer alone.